to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits. Today we have another awesome guest, my man Zach Altmeyer, who is one of the better follows on Twitter, in my opinion, in the reselling space. Retail arbitrage, bolo hunter, drops a lot of game on the timeline and everything. So we thought, what better time to bring him on the podcast to shed some light on beginner retail arbitrage strategies, reselling part-time, and all that. Zach, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to take us back to how you got into reselling and kind of give us the whole origin story and ultimately what got you to where you're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a background, my name's Zach. Been flipping for probably about 3 years now. I started pretty much like anyone else, starting with stuff around the house, trying to flip whatever I could. I had old hats, DVDs, jerseys, just trying to get stuff moving. And before that, I kind of struggled finding a side hustle. I've been wanting to find one, and I tried drop shipping. I tried a bunch of different things, and nothing ever stuck with me. And then I found reselling, and it's just something that I've always enjoyed doing. So, I started with stuff around the house, moving to garage sales and doing all that sort of thrifting, smaller scale sort of stuff. And then ended up going to Ace Hardware one day. Kind of going through clearance and finding a couple items that I could, flip for profit. And I was like, man, clearance has some good items. So I had started hitting up my local grocery stores and kind of picking through some of the clearance stuff. And then I ended up having a conversation with my cousin who was talking about, I was, missing this face wash. And she had mentioned, like, man, it's going for like $30 on eBay, and it's usually like $5. And it kind of clicked with me. I was like, I have some pharmacies around me. I wonder if they have this face wash. They didn't, but I took some time in there, and I ended up finding this GARRETT cream. I think it was like a hand cream softening. Randomly picked it up because it looked old. It was $7, and I'll never forget when I looked at the eBay comps. It was going for like $70 on eBay.
And what product was this?
It was it's called GARRETT 71. It was this old blue vintage looking box. So might as well check it out. And I listed it on eBay, and it was gone within like 2 days. And from there on, I was like, let's do this. About to hit it hard. So really discontinued has just been my category since I think about 2 years now. And I've just been working on finding new ways to find sort of stuff. So another example would be.
Oh, here we go. Got the products in hand.
I got this. So this is probably one of my all-time favorite flips. It's just a floor wax. All right. And these used to be at hardware stores. I don't know if you could see that, but it's like $750 at True Value. And right now these are listed for $100 on Amazon. Crazy. And it's just one of those things where if people have something that works for them, they enjoy it, it just, like I said, it works for them, they're going to keep buying it. And that's kind of the job that I have found is these products will sit just on these mom and pop pharmacies, hardware stores, even grocery stores for long periods of time, and people still want these products and will happily pay you for them. So this is just something, I've been doing for about 2 years now.
Our YouTube viewers just got a treat with that
Absolutely,
bolo.
Yeah. And there'll probably be more too.
Oh, I got more.
I'm sure.
I got more.
So can you take us through the transition? Obviously, you mentioned that you started with eBay, and how did you find Amazon, and what did that transition look like?
So I was selling on eBay for probably 2.5 years. And it was Greg Webb, Toyfolio. I think everyone knows him.
Former guest.
Yeah,
somewhere around episode 20, our third most popular as well. Great guy.
He was the number one push for me getting on Amazon. It took me kind of a while. I've always kind of said like Amazon's a little more intimidating because you have to take more steps on than eBay, but it's just about getting started. And once you do, you take baby steps and kind of do what you can each day. And once you kind of get rolling with it, it gets exciting. because
Yeah.
Amazon compared to eBay too, the sold prices and some of the listings are so much higher than eBay. So there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that you've looked at eBay and Amazon, are you cross-listing and merchant fulfilling, or are you FBAing a lot of stuff that makes sense too?
A little bit of everything, to be
Gotcha.
honest.
I'm the same way. People sleep on merchant fulfilling for low-hanging fruit that you can consistently get more of, or that takes a long time to sell, that you don't want to mess with your storage limits and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of the products that I do sell they're small. So I have like small deodorants, and it's just easiest throwing it into a padded bubble mailer and shipping it out.
First class, probably.
Yeah, first class. I mean, it's
cheap.
$3-4 to ship out, so it's not bad at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of like, I think I kind of mentioned earlier, but you're still part-time. So you just, kind of figure out what he works. How does scheduling around that work? Because obviously get messages pretty much every day from people that are looking to get started on the side, which is obviously the best way to do it, I would say. Absolutely. But they're like, I don't know if I have time and everything. And when I hear that, I don't know if I have time, like sets
Just
me in the wrong
excuse.
direction a little bit. But I'd love to hear how you go ahead and balance that.
Yeah. So, and that's something I'm still working on. I really don't have a set schedule per se. It's all about being flexible and taking the most of the opportunities that you have that are free. So for me, I try to at least get some sort of sourcing trip in per week when it allows. And then obviously I have more opportunities. Some, days are slow and I can get another one in, but I try to be consistent. And it's something that I put out on Twitter this year is I want to have an FBA shipment out every week. And, doesn't have to be a specific amount of profit, but just working on that consistency. So it'll build from there, because last year I did run into some roadblocks where, I stopped with shipments, and then it's like, boom, 2 months go by and you kind of fell behind on things. So the day job can get stressful. It can be chaotic at times, but it's just all about doing, even if it's 30 minutes per day and it's one eBay listing or something, it's just about being consistent with whatever you're doing. I think that's what has helped me the most.
Yeah. And especially with reselling, the inputs are what make you money. Like, so if you go out and find a product, right, you get that listed, no time's required additionally from you besides, repricing here and there for that item to go ahead and sell, right? So just taking care of those inputs and then letting the sales come in, and obviously fulfilling stuff's a lot easier than, going ahead and finding it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I talk about a lot how like, it's like sexy kind of talk about like, waking up to sales and everything, but that shit's powerful, man. Like 3 years ago, literally I set the goal. It's like, I want to wake up to one sale every single day. I was sophomore in college, told myself that. Now, it's often 10, 20 sometimes, and setting that precedent to remove your time from your income, I think is super important. And I'm sure, not to put words in your mouth, but it seems like that's something you've definitely been able to do reselling wise. And I think that's very powerful.
Oh, absolutely too. And I think especially for someone who has not started, I think just getting that first sale really makes a huge difference too. I've worked with and I've talked with a lot of people, and it's just like, hey man, I'm looking into it, I'm kind of looking to get started. But really, I see that momentum with a lot of people when they get that first sale. And I'm sure you've experienced that too, but like once you see that actually happen, then you can kind of gain some momentum. So for someone who's looking to just start somewhere, even if it's selling your old stuff, work on getting some sales and getting that momentum.
Yeah.
And it just compounds so fluently, right? You find your first one, and then next week you find your second one. And then all of a sudden you're still sourcing those two, and you add another one to the catalog, right? So it snowballs very, very, very quickly. What are you gonna say?
Yeah. And one kind of taking back to what you said at the start, like super underrated way that literally anyone can do legitimately today is finding old stuff they have that they don't want. Because pretty much everyone has stuff that they don't want. And there's oftentimes a secondary market for pretty much anything out there. So anyone can go, even if you're not going to sell it, just to look at what it's worth, right? Look how often it's selling, right? eBay, filter to complete sales, take care of that. Super powerful just to see that we're not all talking heads, online. Cause it seems like, we're so far ahead and everything, but we had to do the exact same you had to do, learning how to make a shipment, learning how to list a product and everything. But once you know how to do that, that's all replicatable. You know how to do that. You just have to go ahead and find products more.
Going off of your Oh, go ahead, Zach.
My bad.
And even on that topic too is the discontinued products is a good way for all, people to get started, especially if you have low cash flow. I think just because the ROI is so high, and if you only have, say you got $50 to throw on things, you can find these smaller items where you can pick up for $5-10 and sell it for maybe $50 and get some good cash flow going. I've noticed that it's again, with people kind of getting started, it's one of those things to just, you have to see it for yourself. And when you can start making some of those sales and like, wow, I just sold, deodorant I picked up for $5 and I sold it for 30. That's a pretty good chunk of change that you can keep rolling. So this is just one of the categories that I'm kind of passionate about, especially for beginners, because you can really start seeing it for yourself and seeing what it can, turn into.
I feel like we all have that first product on Amazon that kind of gains our trust, right? We all see about the people on the internet talking about how successful this can be, but you don't really have that full buy-in until, just like you said, that first product that you bought for $7 and sold for $70.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And a big takeaway from our first 10 minutes or so here was that literally everyone we've had an episode with has a completely unique model. This is another example of a completely unique way of product acquisition, ROI numbers, even product type, to be honest. No one's really talking about this except you, Zach, clearly. And that shows, why it's profitable and why I've seen people, say like, oh, Zach hooked me up with this, I was able to do this and everything. In terms of really actionable advice, do you want to just list out kind of some of the main stores you're hitting up and the strategies when you go into them in respect to like, are you looking for a clearance section or are you kind of walking through and scanning the different aisles? Because I'm thinking of like myself when I go to a pharmacy, like it's kind of all over the place. There seems to be stuff on sale pretty much here and there. I don't know. I'd love to hear just kind of an elaboration on your strategies in these stores.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one thing, or I guess my number one store would be are like mom and pop pharmacies, hardware stores, grocery stores, the non-chain stores, the family-owned sort of stores. And especially if you think about pharmacies, and even especially mom and pop pharmacies, most of their business is through prescriptions. A lot of people come in, get their prescription, gone. Not many people are going in there to shop. And there is a lot of opportunity for, products to sit there for an extended period of time. And, products get discontinued and they just sit there. So let's say we'll stick with the pharmacy, for example. So a couple things to keep an eye out for. Number one thing I love to tell people is look for dust. Like I said, they're usually there for a long period of time. So if you kind of browse and you find the right store, you'll start to see things with dust on them, and they've been there for a while, and you can honestly stumble upon a lot of gold. Probably one of my dustiest products, I was going through a mom and pop grocery store, and I was, just going through the method of looking for dust. And there were 25 boxes of discontinued laundry softener. It's like, all right, scan it. There were $7, and they go for around like $50 to $60 a box. So I was actually going through some of the profit stuff through for taxes this year, and ended up making like $500 just from discontinued laundry softener, which is crazy. And that was all just from spotting dust. A couple of other things I would say to look for: old types of packaging. So you're kind of looking through, you see things that kind of stand out. So I have another example here. This just looks old. It's old packaging, it's old text, and that just stands out to me automatic. And this is something to kind of keep an eye out for. So I think I paid $3, and they'll go for almost $30 on eBay. So nice, easy flip. It's nice, lightweight. You can ship those things. I would say keep an eye out for originals. That's another thing. So companies are always looking to improvise, new formulas, things, and changing things up. And those sometimes don't work as well as the originals. And especially for like lotions, people love their specific types of lotions. And like I said, if it works for them, they're going to keep buying it. So another example is this Neutrogena original hand cream. So it says original right on the box. That's an indicator. I should probably scan that. Now you'll probably see something similar in grocery stores. I think it's a fragrance-free one, but those are kind of all around. But the original discontinued, and that's also something to keep an eye out for. And the last thing I would say is, especially I think at grocery stores, there are stores that kind of do the work for you. They will put right on the tags, this is discontinued. So it's an easy way to sort out their inventory. And now that doesn't mean everything's going to be profitable, because there are reasons why things are discontinued. But that gives you a good opportunity to say, hey, you know, this has been discontinued. And even if it's not profitable now, it's something to keep an eye out for a couple months down the road to see if it is growing in price.
Yeah.
So do you have a strategy before you enter the store? Like, are you sourcing online in the retail store, or are you just going to different stores, scanning and looking at what the shelves are? How are you actually planning and getting ready for these trips?
For me now, I've looked at so many shelves for a long period of time that I just kind of go in now because I have a mental list of things to keep an eye out for. But when I first started, it was honestly just randomly scanning, just going through, seeing what you could find, just see what stands out to you. I even try to take pictures of the shelves if I can. And then in my free time, kind of scroll through and see, you know, checking comps through there. And then another tip is just kind of being aware, you know, kind of listen to your friends and family saying, hey, oh, you know, I wish I had this type of cleaner, or looking at blogging websites, or even just searching discontinued on eBay and just seeing what pops up and kind of getting some ideas through that way. So when you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for in some sort of products, and even websites will tell you right on their page saying, hey, this has been discontinued. And that's something you kind of look for and keep an eye out for when you go to stores.
Yes. And make sure, if you're interested in the type of stuff, or even if you aren't yet, you're following Zach on Twitter, because he posts a lot of pictures of shelves and stuff. And it really gives you a good idea of stuff and individual products too. So make sure you guys are doing that if you're interested in this stuff. And this is just fascinating to me because it's such a unique niche and business model that pretty much no one else is talking about for the most part. And it's definitely, a big opportunity. And one thing I'm curious if you ever thought about is actually building relationships with these mom and pop pharmacies and potentially trying to get stuff in bulk. I think that could be an avenue you might want to look into, or maybe have.
Yeah, that's actually on one of my goals this year, is to start forming relationships with some of especially with the stores who have them marked. Obviously they know beforehand because they're making the price tags to put on there. So I think it's very important to start making relationships. I've talked to a couple hardware stores. I'm like, yeah, man, like absolutely, because they have a lot of like cleaners that just sit there and they have no idea. They're just, I want to get rid of this. I want to be done with it. And that's something you can really help out with, especially mom and pop places, is, you know, even with the pandemic that they did take a hit, and it helps to support them any way you can. So kind of coming in saying, hey, I'm looking to help kind of clear some of your inventory so you can get some new inventory in, and that makes a big difference. So it's definitely a good way to make relationships.
Yeah, and they're in the business of moving products, so it's totally a win-win and mutually beneficial thing. And it could be the kind of thing where over the long term, like I think in early December, we had an episode with a guy who was doing the exact same thing, building relationships with retail, even chain, I think, managers and everything, and was able to get a ton of bulk product there. And it's kind of like a hybrid wholesale model, which I thought was really neat. One question I have for you is, what do the people in your life, like your family and everything, think of what you're doing now? Because I'm sure you're, putting time into stuff, driving different places and everything. And just what was their initial kind of reaction? And then how has it changed, if at all?
So I think, the first person I was telling was my mom. And it was again, going back to the cured ice cream, I ended up showing her, she's like, I'm in, let's do this. So her and I took a lot of trips all around the state and even hitting up other states, going to these pharmacies. And she just caught that, that momentum of the thrill of the hunt, trying to find these products. And she, even at times too, I'd be working at my day job. She's like, all right, I took a trip. She's like, oh, like mom's in my territory already, kind of hitting up these pharmacies. So we were working together for a while. And then my dad, he travels a lot for work, all over the US. So when he has free time, he actually tries to go to a mom and pop pharmacy if he has time. He was actually there last week in, I think, Texas, and I got a text from him that says, you want this for $5? And I was like waiting for the picture to upload, and boom, he had this discontinued hand lotion oil that came in. It's like, goes for like $60. I'm like, absolutely. So they've been a huge support, along with my girlfriend too. Absolutely loves it. We take a lot of like hiking trips, and it's just a good way to kind of balance it out. So anytime we go on a hiking trip, before we settle down, I like to hit up some pharmacies while we're in the mountains or anywhere we are, and try to scoop up some items and then kind of have some free time and enjoy the time. So there really hasn't been a big change, I would say, but just everyone's been real supportive. And even's like, anywhere they go, they're like, all right, what product should I be looking out for? What do you want? What do you want me to grab? So it's been awesome.
That's an absolutely beautiful thing. That's pretty much like most people are like, yeah, they didn't really know what I was talking about. They didn't think it was legitimate and all that. In terms of if you could go ahead and start again, like back in the day, a couple of years ago, and knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently?
I say the only thing I would do differently would be to document my journey from the very beginning. I think that's just very important. One, as I'm learning today, because I'm trying to do that more with my Amazon business, just document everything you're doing. And for me, I'm learning that it's very valuable for other people, because any sort of challenge that you hit, they're like, hey, I hit that challenge too. This was a huge help, and I saw how you overcome that. And the other thing would be it's just a good way to document your progress, because we get so caught up in the day-to-day, like, especially for me working a day job, I get frustrated and I get stressed, and there are times I'm overwhelmed trying to balance things. And it just helps to take a step back and really see how much you've grown. And I think when you've documented that progress, it helps. So I kind of look at it for someone who's like working out, for instance, and you're trying to lose weight. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day, you're probably not going to see that much change. But if you have a picture of yourself a couple months down the road and you see that difference, like, wow, like that's a huge change. And you can kind of do that with your reselling business, as you kind of look back like, oh man, I only made a couple sales that month. But then you go down a few months later, like, wow, like I had my first $1,000 month, and then it grows from there. So just kind of documenting all that, and, taking pictures, and even like send out your first FBA shipment and your first sale, and just seeing how that all changes throughout the months and the years. I just find that really important. I'm trying to do a much better job this year of just tracking everything I do and just enjoying the process.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up looking back and kind of admiring where you've come from, because Miles and I used to shoot a lot of content back in when our warehouse was completely empty, right? And now fast forward a year and a half, 2 years, and now it's full. Shelves are in there. We have a worker in there. We have all this sort of industrial stuff in there. But there was one point in time when we were shooting reels and it was blank.
And we didn't even want to show it. Yes, that was like a year ago in April or May. Yeah, May, I guess, would be the first month. And we're just getting started with this. All right. So I love talking about reselling. I also love to talk about content. How did you find Money Twitter, reselling Twitter, all that? And what value have you brought? And why should the listeners join reselling Twitter and all that?
Oh man. I want to say it was Ed Lattimore And I don't
Really?
remember.
I think another Pittsburgh guy, I think, right? Or at least Western PA. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah. I've actually got to meet up with him a few
Oh,
times.
sweet.
He was one of the first people that I got to meet, and I followed him, man, all the way back in 2016, 17.
Oh,
something
so
like
this
that.
is a minute ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So he was one of the ones who just like really inspired me to actually start boxing. So I was boxing, did some Muay Thai early on, just trying to that you see that self improvement, and it's very, you know, it makes you want to just make yourself better. So yeah, Ed was one of the first people I followed, and then you just kind of see the people that he interacted with, and it just kind of grew from there. And from like 2019 and probably middle of 2021 is I just kind of took a step back from Twitter for a while. That was when I kind of was working on different side hustles, and that's kind of where I just started with flipping. So I kind of took a gap there, and then that's where I was like, you know what, I got to start documenting this. I know other people would love to learn this discontinued niche, so I try to really hit it hard on Twitter, and showing as many bolos as I can to help people out and get them started for reselling. And like I said too, is it's just about seeing that first sale and showing them the exact product that I find, and just kind of help them get the ball rolling. And I find that just important. So one of the flips that I think I got a lot of messages about was this arid deodorant. This was one of the posts that I put out, and I had a couple people come out to me like, hey man, like I found this arid deodorant. I found 2 of them, and I sold 2 of them for $70. I'm like, man, like that's what it's all about. Giving people some items to get the ball rolling and kind of open that reselling world to them. So yeah, that's what I've been trying to do since.
Yeah, and you
post
a nice following.
You post a bunch. Go ahead.
You got it. Sorry, and we're lagging a little bit. You got it, Garrett.
So you're always posting pictures of all these products. Have you found that anyone has returned the favor, sent you pictures, and when they were in one of the stores that you hit up in? Have you noticed that? Yeah,
I actually got a few people in my DMs kind of send me. It's like, hey man, what do you think of this? Or I found this gold mine. Like, keep an eye out for this. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed over the years, and specifically, the last year or two, really getting really into it, is the more you share, the more money you make. You know what I mean? Like the real money, like sure, there's ways to make money on Twitter and everything, which is great. And I definitely do it. But there's a ton of money in the relationships. You know what I mean? Like the stuff in the DMs, the stuff on Zoom, stuff in Discord, because I'd much rather have my friends winning than on a finite opportunity than just random people out there. You know what I mean? Because I know that, and selfishly, they'll bring stuff back to me as well. And same thing with content and followers and everything. So I totally agree there. And I think that more people should go ahead and document, go ahead and share, get in the community, and good things will happen. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so before we actually got on there, you said you were pretty much just doing retail arbitrage, planning on doing some online in the future. What does that look like? How are you learning? How are you getting into it? And what would you imagine that looks like 6 months from now? Just business wise in general, like same stuff you got going now, different. Curious about that.
Yeah. So this year I want to see how much I can do. I really want to see how much I can push myself with my day job and reselling on the side. And obviously online is a fantastic opportunity, especially for someone working a day job. Kind of makes things a little bit easier on your end. So just number one is just kind of following some of the people who do it full time, learning from some of the big time sellers and seeing how they operate and how they kind of manage their inventory. Because I think with OA, obviously there's a lot of opportunity to bring in product, but I need to make sure that I'm able to turn that around and it just doesn't sit there.
And the margins are going to be way less than what you're doing right now too. So that'll be an adjustment. Obviously, you'll be able to scale more too.
Exactly. And that's, like I said, that's a learning curve for me. And that's something, because when it comes to discontinued products, it's just like, you find something for $2 and like, boom, sells for 40. I don't really have to worry about those other sort of things that come along with reselling. So that's just, I'm taking it slow, making some purchases on my own, learning Keepa the best that I can, learning from Greg Webb, and just kind of, taking small shipments at a time, putting some orders in, seeing how it ends up, and just, learning by trial and error, because that's how I learn the best, is just, making those decisions yourself and seeing how they work out, and, figure out how you can adjust and learn from those decisions that you made.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally feel that. I was gonna say, in terms of another question, like what you have going on, is it pretty much exclusively those kind of like, not necessarily like, basically mostly discontinued stuff? Are you doing any like Bolo toys, that kind of thing? Because I believe you're in some of the groups, if I'm not mistaken, on Twitter.
Yeah. So discontinued stuff is probably my favorite category, but pretty much anything. I've been trying to expand, going to Ollie's. That's actually been a lot of fun for me, hitting up Ollie's, because Ollie's is a store where a lot of things are going to be discontinued. They're at their end of life. So it's something for me to kind of expand and see, hey, like all these sort of products might be discontinued, and it's something for me to kind of keep an eye out for. But then also there is good opportunity, because Ollie's is one of the last places that has these type of items. So looking to expand there. Obviously, Walmart, Target, when they hit their clearance, that's something I've been working on with the buy and hold. Open up some cash flow so I can hold things for, Q4 coming down the road. I want to make sure I'm ready this year. This past year, with everything with finishing my basement, I had to get rid of the inventory sooner than I needed to. Good. So yeah, so those had to go out sooner, kind of sold early, but it's a lesson learned. Definitely made some good money, but really kind of prepared for this Q4.
Yeah, and it was Garrett and I were talking about this on some other episodes. It was such an eye-opening experience. This being, my first December, really being focused on Amazon, like going hard and everything. Like I said, like in the first episode we filmed, or like one of the first, I was talking about there's just life-changing money on the line with Amazon in general, but specifically Q4, where stuff moves so quick and moves so high. And it's cool to see that you're already preparing and everything. And yeah, literally, discontinued products, you never hear anyone talking about that. You've pretty much created that model on Twitter. At least you're the only one I've seen talking about that, which is very cool. I guess a market shifter or something like that. Yeah, well, I guess you could call it. Yeah. In terms of eBay, Amazon, what's your split? It sounds like it's pretty healthy both ways.
Yeah.
You give it a hard
really
thing.
Yeah. It just kind of depends. If we are talking about discontinued items, it really depends on what the item is. If it could be listed on Amazon, it's probably going to go on Amazon. But with discontinued stuff, there's a lot of variables with that too. Sometimes, it might have a dent in the box, or it's not. The seal has like a little bit of an issue with it, or you're just not sure about that item. eBay, I don't have to worry about it. You can put it in the description, and it helps. It kind of helps with that mental piece. Like, hey, you can take those extra pictures and saying, hey, this product has this little issue with it, and it kind of makes it easier that way. But yeah, it's really a healthy balance between the two. I really don't kind of push it either way. Yeah, a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
With your current business model, what sort of velocity criteria are you looking for? Right, so you're in a store, you have a product in your hand. See, and because the reason why I ask is because it's sort of different than what we're used to, right? We're ordering from a computer, we see the Keepa, we are typically replenishing items, right? But sounds like you may be doing a lot of one-offs, right? So what sort of expectation do you have when you purchase something in terms of how quickly that'll sell?
Right now, just having the experience, you can just, kind of, especially with one-offs, I'm not in a rush to sell. Obviously it'd be great if it's sold within a day, but if you have one item and you put $5 down, that's okay if it doesn't sell within the day or the week. It's there. I know it's discontinued, so it's not being manufactured. You're not going to have to worry about, more product coming in stock. And the kind of cool thing is if it doesn't have an expiration date, the more you hold it, the more it doesn't sell, the more price is probably going to go up. So that's just something that I always kind of keep in the back of my mind is if it doesn't sell now, that's okay. And you can kind of wait out the people who are selling short and kind of go along with the buy and hold method a little bit. But yeah, with one-offs, I just kind of list it up and kind of almost forget about it until it does sell.
That's interesting.
Yeah, one thing I'm also curious about is we talk often about the different software we use for Amazon that helps out. Are there any for eBay that you're using?
Nothing.
Really, just raw dogging it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I really just don't know if there are any. I'd assume there are some, but I never hear any of the eBay guys. Like, hopefully we'll have Sammy on soon. And I don't know if he uses any, I'll ask him, but I feel like I don't see him talk about it much. But interesting. So you're just manually, like, I'm sure you have listing templates that make it easier for you.
Yeah, I'm like super old school. So I have something in my Word document. Just kind of put in the name, quantities, listings, stuff like that, and just post it to eBay. But yeah, super old school. I don't have any sort of software, just Word, and whenever I have some free time, just type it up myself.
Mm-hmm. How long would you say each listing takes on average?
I think I could 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so here we go. So that's not bad when your margins, your ROIs, 300% or whatever. That's not bad at all. And that upfront work you put in, then it's just, I'd assume you probably, pretty good storage system these days. So just whenever it moves, assuming it, well, eBay, it's always merch filled, I guess. So yeah, just when it moves, get it out. Other than that, I'll go find more products to go, take care of what I got going on during the day and everything.
Yeah. And then just something along with eBay too is if for people who are looking to get into the discontinued product category, is when you are listing on eBay is to be very cautious in making your listings foolproof. So make sure, so if you're selling one item, make sure it's in the title that you're selling one item. It's in your description and it's even in the item specifics that it's for one item, because you'll stumble a lot of people who have purchased the item in the past and maybe didn't realize that it is discontinued or just unaware of what's going on with the supply. And they'll buy and be like, dude, I only got one item. And, if it wasn't clear in the listing, you're probably gonna, return whatever, partial refund, whatever you got to do. But, just make sure it's in your title, in your description, make sure it's very clear that you are selling that one item. So when the person who's buying knows exactly what they're getting. So that's just one of my main pain points when I guess I first started selling discontinued items is you just kind of throw the listing up and you put one bottle in there, but it might not be clear or wasn't just kind of low down in the listing, and you can kind of run it to returns at sometimes, but it's just one of the things you want to make very clear when you're listing on eBay.
All right. Absolutely. For the Buy Box Bandit listener out there who still hasn't gotten started, but is now, they hear this guy, Zach, talking about discontinued pharmacies. Maybe they know the exact mom and pop pharmacy they want to check out, or hardware store. What's the action plan to go ahead and get their first sale as soon as possible? Walk us through that.
I would say the number one thing would be just to go. Just get yourself in that environment. If you can take some time, go in the store, take some time scrolling through some sold comps.
Sorry to interrupt, but that would be searching the item on eBay and filtering it to completed sold, because it doesn't matter what it's listed for, it matters what it's sold for. So by searching it and filtering it to the sold listing, you can see what it's moved for. All right, interruption over.
No, exactly, you nailed it. And that's very important to see what actually sold compared to what it's listed for. But going into the store, looking for dust, looking for older type of items, things that stand out to you, and randomly scanning, seeing if there are any price tags that do say discontinued. I have a list that you can download for free.
Link in Twitter bio. Yeah. On
my Twitter bio. So there's 20 items right there that you can kind of get a good idea of the types of items that you're looking for. And like the number one thing is just going out there and just seeing what you can find. And then the last thing I like to do is, if you can, take some pictures of the shelves. And then if you have some free time, go back and see what were on the shelves, what you potentially missed, and kind of check some sold comps, and kind of reverse engineer. So, if you see something that was discontinued, you can kind of search on eBay and say, put in discontinued toothpaste. And a lot of sellers will put discontinued or hard to find in their listing descriptions. So those will come up. And those are good ideas to get the kind of ball rolling on items to keep an eye out for.
Absolutely. And also what you guys should do before you do that is go on Zach's Twitter and go to media and scroll through the photos he's posted for inspiration of different things. I see a lot of visual content from you on that. So I definitely recommend going to do that. So let's go to his page and then filter to media and scroll through and look at the photos, because you'll get to pick up on a lot of stuff, different brands, some of these products you've seen here, and that'll give you a really good inspiration of what you should go ahead and look for. And then once you get that first proof of concept, like whatever business model is, even if it's not even reselling, like it really opens your mind up that, we're not just these, talking heads on the internet. And
Talking heads.
definitely some, I think I say that a lot, but definitely some, real money out there. In terms of, kind of finishing up here, do you, and, not sure what the answer will be, but do you have aspirations to resell full time?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You'll have the option to, though. I'm confident you will. Yeah.
The option is there, and my goal this year is to, like I said, push to see how much I can do. And I think one of my goals would be to maybe not climb the corporate ladder all the way. Maybe take a lower position, because I like what I do. I'm an engineer. I do a lot of testing and I do a lot of cool things. So I like my job, and it's cool, and I work with a lot of good people. But I also love reselling, and I think if I could find a very good balance between the two, which is what I'm kind of doing now, I have a lot of joy in kind of where I'm at now. And if I could take a kind of step back with my job a little bit, but still be involved, but also take reselling to the next level, I think that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Garrett is actually Garrett, are you a software engineer, or you're just a software guy, right? Technically, so I don't know.
My business partner Dylan, he is an engineer. He's a full-time engineer. I work for a software company. I'm not an engineer though, but both me and my brother are full-time. And he's workers.
Work from home and still, obviously reselling at scale. So it shows that it is possible. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of guys on Twitter that are doing it part-time here, because, I talk about, the most important thing before you get started reselling, or just even as you go, is knowing what you're doing it for, right? Are you just trying to make $500 on the side? Nothing wrong with that. Super feasible. Are you trying to make 10 grand a month in profit? Nothing wrong with that. Also feasible, obviously, with more work and input and everything. But I don't know. I just get such a good vibe from that answer. I really feel like you're in a good place, man. And I'm just I'm glad that was such a good answer. I'm glad that, that you feel that way. I think that's really powerful.
And that's the beauty of reselling, is you can kind of take it however you want. If you want to just make some extra money so you can pay for lunch, you can do that. If you want an extra couple $100 or $500 to pay for, investments for that month, you can do that. And if you want to take it full time, you can. And I think that's what's pretty special about reselling, is it's how much you want to put into it and how much you'll get back.
Absolutely.
So great way to put it.
Yeah. So that's a great place to end off, I think. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Just on Twitter right now. I'm hoping to have something on YouTube, but Twitter at Zach Altmeyer.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I definitely recommend doing the YouTubes, because you can literally, you share a lot more than I do. You could literally just record a video of you talking about, things to look for and everything. And that can be your frequently asked questions page. You know what I mean? That people can go to on their own time. That's what I kind of try to do with some of my stuff here and there. But fantastic episode. Thank you for all the game. Any last bolos here for the people still around?
So I do. I like I said, I made a promise.
He was ready. I thought you were going to say no. He was ready.
I do have one. This is something that I haven't, put out on Twitter yet. So this will be exclusive here. I have these floor wipes, another hardware store bolo to kind of keep an eye out for. And I think I paid $5.99 or $4.99, and right now it's listed on Amazon for like $28 a bottle. So definitely something to keep an eye out for at your hardware stores.
All right.
Awesome stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next one.